Alright, the last portion of the annotate tab is going to be covering text, and then I'll also throw a couple of these other annotations in here too. Text is pretty easy. So by default you only get 2 options, I guess technically 3. So not very extensive, 1/4 inch, by default that font is nice, the size is usually pretty decent too, but there's many cases where you're going to need a larger size, a smaller size, maybe a different color, different style, bold, italicized, underlined, etc. So what we can do is you can either click the text button or type in TX on your keyboard. And if you want to create a new style, you can do the exact same thing as what we did for detailed regions. Just click Edit Type. And then, like I said last time, always duplicate so that you don't mess up the existing font. So I'm going to call this one 1/2 inch. Arial is fine. And then I'm going to make this one a blue. Alright, so now we got to change a couple things now that we created a new font. So obviously, because it's blue, I'm going to change the color. Line weight, everything else is fine except for text size. I'm going to change that to 1/2 inch as what is stated in the name. Now we can say OK. There is what our Arial blue looks like. Now a couple things that you can also do with your text. I'm going to put it over this detailed region so I can explain it. Is first of all, there is an outline option around your text. So let's look at that real quick. If you go back to Edit Type, you can change the outline weight, and it also changes the weight if you add an arrow to it. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But if you wanted to change the weight, I'm going to just do 5. And then show border is what's actually going to turn that on. If you don't show border, that line weight will just apply to an arrow that you add to it. But I'll show you what it looks like with a border. There we go. Nice and easy. So there's a couple other options here. So if we go back to Edit Type, like I said, you can bold, italicize, underline. You could also do that just by manually doing that in your text box. For instance, Control B to bold it, Control underline, Control I to italicize. But you can do it manually as the default for the text. Width factor, I've never used this before, but this is what it looks like. You can make it stretched out or perhaps narrow, depending on what you need. Text font you can change right here. You can get rid of this background by changing it from opaque to transparent. Just looks like that. And then this leader border offset will change the offset of the border around the box. So if I just change this to 1/2 inch, you can see what it looks like. See? And then lastly, you can change the arrow type, which I'll look at arrows in just a second. So I'm going to click Cancel, Undo. Now, once you click on a text box, you can add different types of arrows. You can add multiple arrows if you want to point to multiple different things. So there's these 2 add buttons and there's subtract buttons. You can also add a curved arrow. And as you can see, when you move this arrow around, it readjusts itself on the text box. One thing to note is that once you add a straight arrow, you can only add straight arrows. You cannot add a curved. And then vice versa. Once you add a curved arrow, you cannot add any other straight arrows. And then you can also adjust the vertices on these arrows. So you can kind of just change up the style a little bit. And nice thing is that multiple arrows will kind of snap to that same spot. So if you want multiple points to come off of that one, then you can snap it. You can also change the style of where this arrow is coming from. If you have a multi-line text box like so, for instance, if it's coming off the right side, you can make it centered, make it come off the top, make it come off the bottom, and then vice versa, left side, top, center, bottom. So a couple different options there. You can center your text vertically, you can send it horizontally. And then lastly, if you go back to Edit Type, you can change the type of arrow that is used. You can do no arrow. It'll just be a line that terminates. Change to different types. Kind of play around with those and see what you like best. So yeah, plenty of different options there. And that's pretty much it for text. And just to keep it short and sweet, I will actually create a separate video for dimensions and the other annotations.